Hello and welcome to Dolan Unfiltered. I hope you're very well. Busy show today. Amazon billionaire Jeff Bezos sends his fiancée to space. Does he really want to marry her? Plus, a famous singer is ridiculed. A hilarious story. Also, a major court decides what a woman is. The result may surprise you. And I've got the inside story on Prince William's growing bond with his eldest son, George. That is, at the end of the show, well worth waiting for. But we start with the world's least happy millionaire, Prince Harry, who has, for the first time, broken his silence about his wife, Meghan Markle's business activities. He's made a comment about the Netflix series, about the company, which is, of course, called As Ever, a completely unoriginal title that she stole from a lovely New York fashion brand, and her tedious podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder, the episode 3 of which I'll be reviewing next week. So what does Harry think of his wife's many projects? Well, he has expressed strong support. Well, of course he has, because he's not in a marriage. That's not a marriage, folks. That is a hostage situation. He's under duress. Like those videos that get filmed in the Middle East where the guy's got a gun to his head. He's like, I support this regime. Please send money. Poor old Harry. So what has he said? Well, he's told People magazine that he's incredibly proud of Meghan and supports absolutely everything she's done and continues to do. So he's incredibly proud of Meghan and he supports absolutely everything she's done and continues to do. I mean, that sounds like a statement made under duress, doesn't it? I mean, can you imagine Mrs. Dolan saying she supports everything I've done and continues to do so? Good luck with that. That's not a normal marriage. The guy's afraid. He's under the rule, under the thumb of this lady. It's not a marriage. It's certainly not a democracy. It's a totalitarian regime under which the poor man lives. So, it's quite shocking. And the truth is that actually Meghan's success is a huge problem for Harry because she's really busy. She's bringing the money in. She's got series 2 of With Love Meghan coming up. That was the Netflix lifestyle series. So we're going to have more flower sprinkles, more damp lavender towels kept in the fridge for no apparent reason, more of her pretend friends. But look, it'll be a terrible show. I'll be reviewing that as well. But it's noise, isn't it, for Meghan? And it is money, I think that there's going to be more Netflix projects. There'll probably be some terrible travel documentaries where Meghan goes around the world and terrorizes people abroad, overseas. She'll be going to Africa, Asia, the Indian subcontinent. They'll all be begging for mercy. So that is the bottom line, is that Meghan's very busy at the moment. Harry's not. Harry is twiddling his thumbs at home. He's rattling around that massive house, trying to decide which bathroom he's going to use, because he's got a choice of 16. What does Harry do? I mean, he washes the cars, he dusts the house, and he takes the garbage out. That's not attractive. There will come a point where Harry's self-confidence is so low and his role in the house is so subservient, so servile, that Meghan won't be attracted to him, because that's not an attractive man, is it? Just taking the bins out every day and vacuuming the carpet and changing nappies or whatever. Well, I think they're out of the nappies stage. But you know what I'm saying. You take my point. I think that, even Meghan would be thinking, do I really want this misery guts around all the time? Shuffling around the house in his Birkenstocks, removing dust from their various ornaments and all the rest of it. Plus, he's put on weight. I think he's got a bit dumpy. I think that Harry needs to up his game. He hasn't got a job, has he? He's got the Invictus. Well, that's once a year. That sorts itself out. And most of the Invictus war veterans can't stand Harry anymore, because in his book, Spare, he proudly boasted about all the Taliban that he'd done away with, which put a target on his head and on the head of his family and on the head of those who serve in the military to this day. You don't do that. You do not write in a book with bravado about the enemy that you've done away with. It's just not the done thing. Yes, he might have taken out some bad people, but you don't put that in a book. It's incitement, and it's a really bad idea. But Harry's, let's be honest, He is one set of washing up gloves short of a kitchen. And he's put on weight. He's dumpy. So he needs to get a job. He also needs to sort out his appearance, I think. I would say that he should shave that hair off because it's not convincing anyone. And I say that as a man whose hair is thinning as well. I mean, I'm firmly in middle age now. By the way, it is all real. This is all my hair. Someone described my hair recently as a walnut whip comb over, which is very harsh and not true. Look at that. It's a full head of hair. But obviously there's not as much as there used to be. And if it really starts thinning, then I'm going to take it all off. I'll shave it all off. You know what I'll do? I'll shave it all off on this show. Okay, and you can be the witnesses. By the way, bit of decaf coffee, you're welcome. Delicious, as good as ever. So Harry's got to raise his game. He's definitely put on weight, by the way. He lives in California. Why doesn't he go to the Gold's Gym, which is a famous outdoor gym on Venice Beach, which is haunted regularly by Arnold Schwarzenegger and RFK Jr.? Why doesn't he go and pump some iron? He needs to make himself busy. He needs to bring some money in. And he needs to sort out his appearance. And by the way, I say that in love because he's a decent looking guy. He's got the fundamentals there. But I think that Meghan may lose interest in him as he shuffles around the house feeling incredibly sorry for himself. That is not attractive. Plus moaning about his family and, throwing his father under the bus, calling him a terrible father. Not good at all. Listen, I've got a very good royal news story coming up in just a few minutes' time, and it's about George and William and their growing bond. It's a lovely story. But next up, what is a woman? It is a question that puzzles the world. Well, the UK's top judges have spoken. The Supreme Court, there is no higher court in the land, has ruled that when the law says woman, it means biological woman, not somebody that identifies as female. The ruling says that your sex at birth is what counts in legal settings, even if you've changed your gender and have the official paperwork to demonstrate that. Now, this all came from a Scottish law trying to make public boards 50% female. They wanted to count trans women as women. The court said no. So that's quite an amazing thing, isn't it? That you're trying to say that you've got on your public board, it's like half of the people on the public board are now women, which is great progress. Now, that is a goal perhaps to which we can all aspire. But if a certain number of that 50% of women are biological males, well, then the board is not 50% female, is it? We've had this issue with the gender pay gap at the BBC, the national state broadcaster, where they've said that we're making great progress with the gender pay gap and that women are getting a fair share, until they realised that a lot of the women that were getting paid much more were trans women. So that's a biological male who identifies as female that's getting more money, which means that men, once again, are getting paid more money than women. Make it make sense. So the law is now clear. I mean, it's basically common sense, isn't it? You can't redefine woman by stealth in official policies, not without changing the law itself, is what they've said. So what it means is that women will get all of the stuff that they need and for which they have been fighting for hundreds of years. They will get female-only spaces. There's a reason why we have female-only spaces, such as bathrooms, changing rooms, domestic violence shelters, hospital wards. Women are particularly vulnerable in a hospital ward. Therefore, they want to be around other biological females. Obviously, of course they do. Female-only prisons as well, and female sport. Now, there's a woman called Nicola Sturgeon, and she is the former First Minister of Scotland, and her career ended as a result of the debate in Scotland about trans rights. Now, let me be very clear that there are trans people, okay? There are people that are born and they feel like, I've got the body of a boy, I feel like a girl. I actually have two people that have been very close to me in my life who have both been on that journey, and trans people deserve the love, the respect, equal treatment under the law, 100,000,000%. However, you have trans rights not at the expense of women's rights, because there are, as I said, these separate female spaces for a reason, and it is for the dignity that women wish to have when they're in a shop and they want to try on a dress. They don't want to do that a couple of feet from a guy with a beard, full intact biological male that has decided today that he's a girl. And women don't want, so there is the dignity aspect, the privacy, and then of course there is the safety as well, because although the vast majority of men are absolutely lovely and fluffy and charming and delightful, a small percentage of men are a problem and a threat to women, always have been, always will. It's very sad. That is the way of the world. That's why we have female spaces. And I can't believe that in the name of progress, you've now got males in female spaces. How is that? That is regressive, because these sex-based rights that women have been hard won, but yet have been eroded now by woke lunatics. The best example of that, and this pretty much finished Nicola Sturgeon's career in Scotland, is that there was a man who he was a double rapist, a double attacker of women with that word. It's a family show. I don't even want to use that word, but two assaults, separate women, biological male, accommodated in a female prison because he called himself a lady. Isla Bryson. Do me a favor. This is not Isla Bryson. It's a bloke, and a very dangerous one at that. Accommodated in a women's prison, locked in a cell with other women. A convicted attacker of women, accommodated in a cell and in a prison block with other women. It's insanity. If that's not enough to wake people up, well, nothing will. And then, of course, there is the issue of women's sports. The shocking scenes of biological men breaking all records in weightlifting, in cycling, in the pool. I mean, that Leah Thomas story was really shocking. There's a picture of Leah Thomas, who's a biological male that identifies as female, on the podium, of course, number one, because this is biological men taking prizes from women. And then the women next to him, the actual biological women competing, beaten by a biological male in the pool. So noticeably smaller. I mean, what have you got? Muscle mass. You've got just energy levels. Men are stronger than women. They're all more athletic. Always have been, always will be. It is nature. It is science. So common sense has prevailed. I'm delighted about that. Women's rights campaigners say this is a huge win for common sense and for protecting biological sex in law. Trans activists say it's a setback and fear it could lead to exclusion and stigma. Well, as I say, I've got a simple rule, which is we must have trans rights, but not at the expense of women's rights. And that is my red line. The worst thing, by the way, is lesbians. Because lesbians, if you went all the way with this madness, lesbians are being told that they're a bigot if they won't go on a date with a biological male who identifies as female. And there are dating apps where women cannot check that the person they're going to meet, because, you know, you've got these dating apps for lesbians and they meet other lesbians because lesbians like ladies, that's how they roll. But they can't now double check that this is a biological female that they're chatting to on a lesbian dating app, which means that when they go for the date, they could get the surprise of their lives. And if they've got a problem with somebody with a male body who says he's female, if they've got a problem with that, apparently they're a bigot and a bad person. So this madness is coming to an end. Well done, the Supreme Court. Common sense has prevailed. Meanwhile, talking of common sense, billionaire space cowboy Jeff Bezos has sent his fiancée, Lauren Sánchez, into space alongside Katy Perry, who's a very famous singer. She's had a baby with Orlando Bloom, who's a very handsome actor who likes to go around on the beach naked. I don't like to do that, especially not if it's a cold beach. Everything gets, very shrunk up. It's not a good look, I have to tell you. So I wouldn't, I am no nude sunbather, ladies and gentlemen. You actually have to really get to know me to see me naked, okay? And you're going to have to buy me dinner and get a couple of drinks in me as well, and we'll see where the evening goes. But this guy, well, he's Orlando Bloom. He's a very handsome actor, and it appears he's got more gifts than just acting. He's born with natural assets, and he gets them out, the crown jewels, whenever he wants. But he is with Katy Perry, and she's a very famous singer, sold millions of records. She previously was married to Russell Brand, but you had two very big egos there. He's a famous comedian and broadcaster. She's a famous pop star. And it seemed like there just wasn't enough space for those two big egos in the relationship. I don't think they had kids together. Anyway, so you've got Jeff Bezos, who's more or less either the first or second richest man in the world. He's in competition with Elon Musk. Although at this rate, I think he's going to bypass Elon. I think it's going that way. He's a very rich man. He started Amazon from a desk in his garage. Isn't it amazing to achieve that much success and build a business empire within your own lifetime? You know, very often these brands, it takes a few generations for them to become massive, but he's done it on his own, in his own lifetime. He was, I think, in his sort of mid-20s when he started Amazon, and now he's got the world at his feet and a very glamorous fiancée in Lauren Sánchez. So he's sent, but the thing is, right, that they're engaged to be married and he's sent her into space. Does that bode well for the marriage? How would you feel if the man that you were expecting to marry put you in a rocket and flung you towards the moon? Is that really, is that what you would do? And by the way, hazardous. See, I don't see the point in unnecessary danger in life. I go on holiday in Italy in the summer, and there's a rock that you can jump off into the sea. Why would I do that? Just give me a stepladder. Seriously, I'm no spring chicken. And also, why have the danger? Why have the? It's the same reason why I would never take an unnecessary helicopter flight. Helicopters are asking for trouble. Helicopters is basically mocking the gods, isn't it? I'm going to get into this wafer-thin bubble, which has got one propeller on it, and I'm going to hope for the best. I'm going to be soaring around in the sky. Tragic accident we saw in New York just a couple of weeks ago. Family perished and the pilot. So sad, so shocking. I didn't get the full story on that, except that it was reported that the pilot said to the base station, going to land now, I need fuel. It's not encouraging either, is it? Anyway, I wouldn't take an unnecessary helicopter ride. I would not get into a space rocket and fly towards the moon unless it was my job and I was going to actually achieve something by doing it. If you ask me, it's a complete waste of time and one big ego trip. But I'll tell you who doesn't have an ego, and it is Prince William, who's been to the football with his son George, who is 11 years old now. And they've been sharing a heartfelt father-son moment this week, bonding over their mutual support for Aston Villa, who are an excellent Midlands club in England. The duo attended the UEFA Champions League quarter-final match against Paris Saint-Germain at Villa Park, which is the Aston Villa Stadium. Despite Villa's 3-2 victory on the night, they were eliminated for the competition with a 5-4 aggregate loss. Now, throughout the match, William and George were visibly emotional, celebrating Aston Villa's goals and showing disappointment at the final result. This outing underscores their close relationship and shared passion for football, creating lasting memories during George's school break. The bottom line is that William loves his kids. He loves his wife. He lives for Catherine, and he loves his 3 kids. And they are absolutely gorgeous, the 3 of them. You've got Prince George. By the way, their names are just amazing. Prince George of Wales, who's 11. Prince Charlotte of Wales, aged 9. And Prince Louis, who's a cheeky chappy, aged 6. 3 beautiful kids. And I think what happened is that in the last year, William had to do a lot of the parenting on his own because Catherine has been battling cancer. And I don't think we realised just how poorly she was and how dangerous the disease was for her. Now, it appears that she's beaten the disease and that she's in remission and, she's out of the woods, thank goodness. Long may that continue. No such luck for King Charles. But with her having to focus on her health and being very poorly and no doubt exhausted and uncomfortable and on medication, all the rest of it, well, then William has had to pick up the slack, and it's been a great opportunity for him to build a very special relationship with his kids, because normally the next in line to the throne, the king's son, is going to have a full schedule and it's working 24/7, especially a young fit guy like that. But he has had to take his foot off the gas when it comes to his royal duties and be dad and just be there for the kids, as Meghan likes to say, showing up for them. And it's a wonderful thing. And I think it's been a testing time for William, but he's come through it so well. And I think you could see that in his relationship with George at the football. They're just in each other's pockets. It's really adorable to see. And actually, it's an important relationship because George is the next in line to the throne. So George is going to be the king. So we can speculate. Let's go through the ages if we can, because I've been doing a little bit of mathematics on this one. William is 43 and George is at the moment 11. So assuming that William lives into his 90s, well, then that means that George would become king in his 60s, which is plenty of time to prepare for the role. But it's an amazing thing to think that these two lads are at the football together, father and son. And yes, they have a loving relationship, but it's not just that. William has to already inculcate George in the sort of spirit of the monarchy and the sense of duty and the life that he's going to live. No better man to do that than William, who has been in the glare of publicity his whole life. And William has always been next in line to the throne after his father, and George will always be next in line after that. So yes, they love each other, and yes, he's a proud father, but he's also got a kind of constitutional role. He's got to get the boy trained up, and you can't start too young. From about the age of 5 or 6 or 7, you're going to have to sit George down and say, you will be the next monarch of the United Kingdom. So that's very important. It's very, very special. William has reflected on fatherhood in the past. He said, I adore my children very much, highlighting the profound impact that fatherhood has had on him. He emphasized the importance of raising his children with kindness, respect, and honesty, aiming for them to be grown up as well as rounded individuals. William has shared that George is a rascal who keeps him on his toes, while noting that having a daughter, Charlotte, introduces a different dynamic to the family. He and Kate prioritize emotional openness, encouraging their children to express their feelings and ensuring that they grow up in a supportive environment. The couple strive to provide a stable and secure home life, focusing on normalcy despite their royal status. Well, they are doing so well in that task because the kids are, well turned out, obviously very happy kids. And what William's doing, William's got the best of both worlds because he has an amazing father in Charles who is inculcated in royal tradition and has waited his whole life to become king. He's the perfect teacher for William, the perfect mentor. And then you've got William's mother, the late Princess Diana. And that was a great combo because Charles is a little stiff. He's quite austere. He's quite traditional, obviously. He's quite strict. He's a workaholic. And then you had Diana, who had this wonderful carefree spirit. She was a humanitarian. She was empathetic. She was funny. She was fun-loving. She loved pop concerts. She was friends with pop stars and other type artists. She was a bohemian. She was a bit wild. She was free-spirited. She was actually the opposite of Charles, which is why they actually made a great combo as parents. Two very good different sources of influence on the two boys. And I think there's so much of Diana in William. And you can just see by the carefree way in which he's raising his children. Also, wonderful scenes of William at Aston Villa at the game, hugging the players before they went on the pitch, demonstrating that William is the new generation of royals. He's not like his father. And he's channeling some of his mother's disruptive energy, because actually Diana rewrote the rule book about what it is to be a royal. She turned the royals into celebrities. Before they were national figures, then they became celebrities, which I think, by the way, irritated Charles because he's not a natural celebrity. But now you have father and son. They're at the football, and it's in such contrast to H&M, Harry and Meghan, who are there in their rather anemic and sterile Californian mansion with the kids that are never seen. Lots of you in the comments say there are no kids. There was no pregnancy. I beg your pardon. That's impossible. But you're entitled to your view. The bottom line is that we don't see much of them, but I don't think they've got much of a life. with a miserable, moaning father and an egocentric, narcissistic mother who's all about Meghan. Can you imagine having such a mother? Terrifying. So it's a very stark contrast. You look at the dignified way in which William is going out being a father with the huge responsibility and burden that he's got. And let's just listen again to that wonderful quote where he said, I adore my children very much. That is the only personal thing we've heard from William. And that's what he's like, because he keeps his counsel. He's dignified. He's not going to write books. He would never write books, right? Even if he was the spare and he was the number 2 or whatever, he would never have done what Harry did, because he's a different character. He's a decent guy. He's private. And of course, he hasn't been hoodwinked by a terrible spouse. He chose so well in Catherine. What a perfect choice, because Catherine came from the real world. She's a normal person. She's down to earth. But she's also a born royal. I mean, she looks like a queen, doesn't she? I mean, that's the only disadvantage of the, well, no, you could, I just want to say the rude health of Charles and Camilla, because I'd love Catherine to be queen as quickly as possible. I wouldn't say that, because I want Charles and Camilla to be with us for a very, very long time indeed, as long as possible. But when she becomes queen, she will give Elizabeth a run for her money. And with any luck, she'll be enjoying 100% health then. But she knows she's got this amazing guy by her side in Prince William, who's a truly terrific chap. Okay, folks. Well, look, it's been great to chat. I can't wait to catch up tomorrow for another Dolan Unfiltered. Do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell, because then you'll be alerted when a new video has landed. And here's another question for you. Do you like these Unfiltered to feature a range of topics? I'm very, very keen on the Harry and Meghan psychodrama, because I think it's very entertaining, and I think it's a great sort of case study of human nature. So there's always going to be loads of royal stuff, loads of Harry and Meghan. But do you like the show to be peppered with other topics that get your gears going, that get your heart racing? Do let me know. Give me your feedback about a format for Dolan Unfiltered, which is daily, which leads on exciting stuff like Harry and Meghan, but contains other juicy stories as well. Let me know if that's what you'd like or what you wouldn't like. Put that in the comments. I read all of them. Go and have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow for another Dolan Unfiltered. Cheers.